We're here getting our first drive of the new Volkswagen Transporter, and yes, this arguably is the most controversial Transporter to date based on some of the comments that people have been putting out there on the internet. But the reality is, these days, making vans means you've got to team up with people, and that's what Volkswagen have done. They've really teamed up with the market leaders, Ford, to do this. I'm not going to get into all the politics and all that kind of stuff in it. What I'm here to do today, I'm going to show you through some of the features of the new Transporter. I'm going to talk about some of the engines. I'm going to talk a little bit about the styling, but not too much. But what I will say is it does kind of have a nice face, and it's going to have pretty decent spec levels, including all LED headlights. So now, rather than having a sort of cheaper version and a higher version, all versions of the Transporter will come with LED headlights to begin with. In Ireland and in a lot of other markets, there's going to be a number of different versions available. So you've got your trend line, and there's going to be a new Panamericana model, and that's the range topping model. And it's the one that kind of has a little bit of a rugged, more off-roady look to it. I think it's the best looking one, and actually when we did the world premiere of the Transporter late last year, on that video, at the time Ireland wasn't going to take it, but it is now, which is great news because I think that one looks really, really good. I'm just going to run through some notes here in terms of engines and what you can get. So they're all going to be 2-litre TDIs. They'll start with 110 horsepower, 6-speed manual front wheel drive. You then have a 150 horsepower version. That's the middle of the range. You can get that also with a 6-speed manual or an 8-speed auto. The 8-speed auto is pretty good. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I'm out on the drive. And again, the 6-speed manual front wheel drive, the 8-speed auto, you can get it with front wheel drive, or you can get it with 4Motion as well. So you do have a choice. If you want to have the all-wheel drive option, you can do that, which is kind of useful for some people. They maybe prefer that, whether it's for towing or maybe they just want the extra performance of having that. Then on top of the range, you have a 170 horsepower diesel. That one comes only with the 8-speed auto, but you can get that with either front-wheel drive or 4Motion. So they're the diesel engines. There is going to be a plug-in hybrid called an e-hybrid, and that one isn't coming until Q1 of 2026. That's actually going to be the second most powerful Transporter in the range. That'll have 232 horsepower. And that one also drives the front wheels, but it gets a slightly different gearbox. It gets a CVT transmission. We do have a separate video on the channel all about the e-Transporter. Go and have a look at those. But yes, you can get electric in those as well. Finally, also, you get 2 lengths and you can get 2 different heights as well. So there's plenty of versatility. There should be enough for most people depending on what powertrain they want. Now you've got different options as well. You've got sliding doors on the sides. Also on the back then you have an option. You can have a lift up, or you can have the wing doors. These are obviously the more practical thing. You can get them with glass, without glass. Again, there's a whole heap of different options. So when you go and talk to your local Volkswagen dealer, they'll be able to run through everything like that. Slightly different design on the rear lights as well. I actually quite like how they've kind of put in this color panel insert here. Just gives a little bit of a different look to what we've seen on the other versions of this van. But yeah, you've got a reversing camera. You can get like basically a whole 360 camera system on this as well. There's a lot of driver assistance systems. So yeah, that's also pretty good news. That should also bode well in terms of if you've got a fleet of drivers, it's better to have them all nice and safe on the road. And when it comes to the business end of the Transit, well, kind of the world's your oyster. You can do quite a lot with this. It's now slightly wider between the wheel arches, so that's good news if you do need to get slightly bigger or bulkier items in. And you can get 2, even up to 3 Euro pallets in the back. And look, as you can see, it's a blank canvas. You can set these up, kit them out however you might want. You can add in power outlets here in the back so you can power various tools. You can also get 2 different options. So you can get, obviously you've got the bulkhead there. There is also going to be like a crew cab version as well if you do want to prefer having that. But yeah, there's a lot of different options. So get onto the Volkswagen site and you can see yourself with all the different combinations and different possibilities that are out there. But let's go have a look and see what it's like in the driver's seat. The inside of the new Transporter is, well, kind of nicely laid out. This is the 3-seat setup. So you can have it, you know, just 2 normal seats. You can have it with this triple seat. It is a little bit better, I suppose. There is also a version you can get that has a fold down middle armrest. That's kind of useful. But overall, you know, the kind of material qualities, they're nice. They're obviously hard wearing. Same with a lot of the kind of plastics and things like that. But they've kind of gone to some effort to add a little bit of, I suppose, design, a little bit of, you know, make it look a little bit better. After all, this is going to be your office, you know, for most of the day. Let's start with the driving position. There's a lot of adjustments, so most people will find it easy. Even with the bulkhead there, you should be able to get a comfortable enough position. There's a good amount of reach and rake here on the steering wheel, so like really most people should be able to find a comfortable driving position. Also, I would just say I like the steering wheel because it's got proper buttons on it, so, and it's not festooned with buttons either, you know, so it's very intuitive. You can just feel your way around. After 2-3 days of driving this van, you'll just know where everything is without having to kind of be looking down at it. You do get a fully digital instrument display in front of you. You can obviously, you know, loads of different views you can have, so you can set it up a load of different ways depending on what you want to see, but all the information is there. Your keyless start, so this has, that's the key in case you're wondering. That's what it looks like. So it's it might look familiar to other keys that are on the market, but yeah, so that's your keyless entry. But you've got an engine stop start up here, so the button is just up there. And then you've got quite a nice, decent size touchscreen here as well. Up nice and high. It sits, as you're sitting here, the top of it is pretty much sitting at the bonnet line, you know, so it's not in your way, but it's as close as you're going to get to being not that far from having to look away from the road. Things I like and things I don't like about it. What I don't like about it is, yes, they've put all the climate control across the bottom. It's just not the most intuitive setup for it, you know. And what I mean is, like, you know, you go and want to adjust the temperature, but you do that and then you got to take another stab at it to do that, and you know, you end up just having to make multiple kind of stabs at these things. So that's kind of one of those things that, look, owners might, or users might get used to it overall, but you know, I would love to have some physical buttons here. But anyway, you've got all the usual stuff there. Volkswagen's native infotainment system is actually pretty good. You have 5G built-in data connection here as well, so you can connect your phone, you can have like the Volkswagen app and do all that kind of stuff. Equally, you've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay available wirelessly, so you can have your phone. There is, you know, the space down here. You do have an option, if you wanted to put in there, you can have a wireless phone charger, but you do get USB-C and USB-A and the 12 volts. So you get, you know, it doesn't matter what cable you're going to use to have to charge your phone, you're going to be able to do that. And in fact, there's a lot of other chargers all hidden around. Up on the top here, ahead of this screen in here, so you've got, you know, storage for odds and ends. You can put all your different documents in there. You've got USB-C ports, 2 more of them there. You've got a little cup holder in there as well, although to be honest, I think that cup holder is a little bit on the small side. So if you're getting big gulp coffees, that might be a little bit too small, but you do have, hey presto, another cup holder there, which is a slightly better size, and I do quite like how that folds up out of the way. That's there because these are now all, well, not all of them, but these are automatics in this particular one, which means that your drive shifter is up here, and on the other side is all your indicators, lights and all that. So yes, you will be able to get a 6-speed manual, but the automatic really is where it's at these days, and that's what more and more people are kind of going for, even though it is, you know, a little bit more expensive. You've got electric handbrake here on the center in between the two central vents, and you've then got more storage. So you've got a little top bit in here that's kind of handy, and another one, slightly bigger space down there as well. The door bins are actually pretty decent size as well, so they're, you know, you can get odds and ends in there. Overall, yeah, look, hey, it's not too bad. You know, the design and all that looks quite nice. It has a kind of a Volkswagen-y feel to it. But I guess the next thing we need to do is get out and go for a drive and see how this stands up on the road. So here we are behind the wheel of the new Volkswagen Transporter, and no, it's not the T7. Volkswagen says it's not using the T7 name anymore because it's realigned its entire range of vehicles, because it now has a multitude of models, from the ID Buzz to the ID Buzz Cargo, the Multivan, the California, and of course you have this, the Transporter, and the passenger Caravelle that goes alongside it. And yes, there are, for those who want to know, there are some Ford things inside this. The bings and the bongs, well, they'll be familiar to you if you spent any time in a Transit. But you do get some Volkswagen things. Namely, all the things you're going to look at and touch are a bit more Volkswagen. So that means you've got things like your steering wheel. I love that it's got proper buttons on it, for example. This is a great thing. We've seen this terrible influence from the car world. Thankfully, you know, we don't have haptic controls here. We've just got regular good old-fashioned buttons, and they work great, nice and easy and intuitive to use, so that's good. You've got simple stalks here. You've got, in this automatic version, we've got the drive selector here. Obviously you can get a manual version too. This is the range topping model, so we're in the 170 horsepower diesel, and yeah, look, it's got plenty of go in it. The 8-speed box does actually work quite well. It reacts quickly, so if you are cruising along, if you need to do an overtake, it's pretty quick to react, so that's a good thing. I imagine most people are probably more so going to go for the 150 just based on cost and performance and things like that. We didn't get a chance to drive that today. We've only had a chance to drive this 170 horsepower engine as well as the electric versions, and yeah, it's not too bad. It's fine. Definitely, you know, if money wasn't an object, but if you weren't very tight on cost, this is the engine I would pick, and I'd really go for that Panamericana model. I think it looks great. And the 8-speed automatic, yeah, I mean, it works well. That's the thing. It just does a good job. So that's a pretty good package too. One area where I think Ford has positively influenced this is the suspension and the ride quality, because Ford, in my opinion, usually get these kind of things right, and they've done it here as well. Definitely feels a little bit smoother. Now at times, yes, it can still feel a little bit busy, and I also need to caveat this review that we have nothing in the back, so this is an empty van. That will also have an impact on it, both in terms of the performance and also how it rides. But Volkswagen didn't, for whatever reason, chose not to put any weight in the back of these vans, so we're only driving empty vans. And as you know, an empty van is very different to a fully laden van in terms of performance, but we'll have to wait until we get back to Ireland and we can spend a bit more time with these and really put them through their paces a little bit more. This is more just a kind of a first taste to get an idea of what to expect, to have a look at the quality, the materials, all that kind of stuff. What I do also like is that if you want, you can have quite a lot of tech on board your Transporter. Yes, there's all the usual driver assistance systems, which annoyingly now include, much like what we see on passenger cars, a speed limit warning. So yes, you can turn it off, but you've kind of got to get 2 layers into the menu to get to that, which it's a little bit annoying, all right. Otherwise, it will just keep pinging at you if you happen to go over the speed limit, which of course you shouldn't, but you know yourself. But yeah, you can get a lot of other cool stuff. Obviously, you've got all the connectivity there with your phones. You've got adaptive cruise control. You've got obviously the LED lights are now, that's a positive thing in terms of definitely nighttime driving. Anything like that is going to be better, and theoretically they should last an awful lot longer as well, but you know, people have varying opinions on that. And overall, yeah, it's a Volkswagen Transporter. Is it as good as the T6.1? That's the thing, you know, there are some, you know, real dyed-in-the-wool fans, and we've seen all the comments, you know, we've read them all, and I'm not really going to get into all that again. People have very strong opinions about this van, but as a van, does it work? Absolutely, it does work. You know, it's nice to drive, it's comfortable. It's not the most comfortable. I mean, these are good seats. There is an upgradable seat that's available as well. That would be the one that you'd probably maybe want to consider going for. Standard seats, they're okay, but I think they could be a little bit more comfortable. I think, you know, drivers deserve to have a little bit more comfort in their vans. And overall, yes, I think when you look at what Volkswagen is offering with this in terms of, you know, the amount of engines, the fact that you will be able to get a plug-in hybrid, the fact that there is going to be electric versions, you know, this is it's a transporter for today. You know, it's ticking all the right boxes for what the legislators want, for what cities want, for all that kind of stuff. So, but diesel still absolutely has a place. This engine, yeah, it seems to be pretty decent. It's got plenty of pulling power in it. It would be, I suppose, nice if we could really experience it with a bit more weight in the back, but yeah, we'll have to just deal with what we've got today. And yeah, overall, I think it rides with a little bit more comfort than the 6.1 did. And it's interesting because we are on some pretty poor quality roads here. So that's a good test. You know, I'm glad that we're not on this sort of billiard table smooth road. And it soaks it all up pretty well. It's, you know, you have different size wheels. I would obviously go smaller, just have a bit more comfort. But overall, I can't say I'm disappointed with this. You know, it's a nice van, especially when you start adding a little bit of spec to this. They can start to get quite nice quite quickly. Yes, they can also more than likely get quite expensive quite quickly, but what doesn't these days? Go and drive this, whatever, you know, preconceptions you might have, go and drive it, see what you really think of it, and then let us know. So that's our first drive review of the new Volkswagen Transporter, and yes, I am going to make some popcorn for the comments section, because God, if anything like our last videos are like, you will be letting us know what you think. But all that aside, all joking aside, look, this is a van, comes with a lot of spec. Inside, I think it's actually pretty good. I like a lot of the tech that's in there. Okay, a few tweaks are needed, but overall, you know, you've got a decent amount of options to choose from. There's a lot of different engines. You can get different body styles, and also that Panamericana one, that for me just looks great. That's the one that I would want. That with the big engine and 4Motion is kind of going to be a pretty cool vehicle when it comes out. If you want to know more about this, do head over to our website. It's completevan.ie. You'll find it linked in the description below. We've got reviews of this, we've got reviews and news of all the competitors, everything you need to know about the van market. And also one other thing for those that are watching in Ireland is that Volkswagen is also going to be rolling out a 5-year, 5+ option with the Transporter. So you're going to get 5 years warranty, 5 years servicing, 5 years roadside. Obviously more details of that on Volkswagen's website, but that's just a little bit of information that might be useful to you. You might want to know, maybe you weren't aware of it. As ever, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.